Greetings out there in YouTube land. This is Morris, man, and as always, I thank you guys for coming to my channel and welcome to my talk show, Tell It Like It Is. I'm your host, and my co-host is Mr.
Joseph Spencer.
How are you today, sir?
I'm up, I'm alive.
Good. So we decided to do something different. We're going to do this outside because it's nice for the camera to get the sunlight because sunlight is a camera's best friend. So our topic today is, and before I even give you the topic, we're going to say this. The show is called Tell It Like It Is, and that's exactly what it is. We talk about topics that no one else wants to talk about, afraid to talk about. And I think it's important that we discuss these things because if we don't say nothing, nothing gets done.
Well, they just don't care.
Well, that too. That's right. You think that if you don't talk about it, you are under the assumption that people don't care. And we care. This is why we're doing this. So the topic is called this. And hold on to your seats because, we just going to tell it like it is. The topic is today is basically called Bring Back the Good Old-Fashioned Ass Whoopings. And what I mean by that is, when I was growing up, we feared our parents. Because in some instances, fear is a good thing. Fear helps you kind of stay intact. Because if you don't fear nothing, you do whatever you want and don't care about the consequences. But if you fear something, you think twice about making that stupid mistake. So we're going to get into this, but before I kind of expound on this, I'm going to turn it over to Joe and get some of his insights on what do you think needs to be done for our youth? What's missing that was there when you were growing up?
What's missing is community. When I was a little boy, if I went around the corner and did something wrong, by the time I got home, my parents knew about it. Parents nowadays see somebody's kid doing something. They don't care. It's not in their household. And some parents will also, what the hell are you calling me for? That's my child. Blah, blah, this, that. Mind your own MF business.
I totally agree with you because when I was growing up, like you said, the whole community took care of all the kids in the community. As opposed to, like you just mentioned, that no one cares no more. Don't bother me with this. Don't bring this to me.
Right.
So,
take care of your own household.
Yeah.
But when the child is out on the street, he's in the household of the neighbor. He or she is in the household of the neighborhood. If you see a child sticking a stick in another child's eye and you go, well, that's not my kid, you're part of the problem.
Yeah.
Now, corporal punishment, Jim Crow punishment, which I was brought up in, I don't believe in that. I don't believe in that being strapped to a post and your shirt pulled off and being beaten.
Yeah, that's kind of too harsh.
Well, that's what I was brought up under. I didn't get that, but the older brothers, they would get actually strapped to a post, the bedroom post, stripped down and beaten. I found out later that was that Jim Crow shit. We also had corporal punishment in school with the paddles. Some kids can take a whooping, a beating like that and walk and shake it off. A lot of kids, that damages.
Yeah.
Now, there's a difference between being spanked and and being beaten like a Hebrew slave. My grandma would spank us. She would get a little branch and smack us on our legs or put our heads between her knees, pull out our pants, and hit us on the butt a couple of times.
I think what happened is this, because as you were talking, I was thinking about what happened that changed the way discipline was handed down. And here is my theory, and I'm going to try to say this quickly. When we were growing up, we had mother and father in the house. They married each other, then had us. Now we have this alarming trend where, and I'm not picking on the women because it takes two to create this mess up situation, so the men are just as equally at fault. And here it is. Now, no one's getting married. Now they're just casually having sex. And I've heard this, and you've heard this before too. Black men ain't shit. And I thought about that statement. I said to myself, but guess who's raising these black men? Black women. And raising them by themselves without the father in the household. So until we get that resolved, it continues because the way that the family structure is set up now, no one got married. Mama who had the child is still living with her mama. And your child is 17 years younger than you. And then these young, quote unquote, black men that ain't shit, these are the guys that are going out there engaging in casual sex and impregnating these girls. So it's like there's a reason why it's messed up because we have kind of fell off track. Now again, unfortunately, a lot of people are just casually having sex with people that they don't even love. And before the baby is born, dude and the woman is separated. And now she's dating another dude while she's carrying the other dude's baby. And that dude is gone now and in another relationship having another baby. So it's like until this nonsense and craziness stops, our community and our you know culture is just going to get worse.
I've been on both ends of the spectrum. I had white friends. I have black friends when I was 17, 18 years old. And I began to realize I was brought up during that hippie era, free love and all that. But most of the women around me, young women around me were going to college and stuff, and they were on some sort of birth control pill, not like the young black poor or white poor wasn't taking because they couldn't afford it. The city, the state wasn't passing that stuff out. Young men, black and white, see having sex as a sport like football or basketball.
Yeah.
Myself personally, when I was young, it was a kick to see how many women I could have in a month. And we would sit around and do our little thing. Yeah, man, blah, 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 blah. Somebody have to teach these kids, young people, that this is a serious thing.
Because I'm like this. Worst case scenario, we are humans and we're sexual.
We're sexual.
So we're going to have sex. And sex is not that big of the issue. The issue is the result of what happens after the sex.
After the sex.
This child comes into the world that now doesn't have a stable foundation, and they expect that person to land on their feet when they're not given the necessary tools from birth to be successful, meaning a loving mother and a household with a loving father who she's married to, and you're raising your kid together, as opposed to now, my daddy never was ever in the house because he was just sexual with my mom. He's probably in jail or dead. And mama think that she can, because she been listening to these rap songs, that she can take care of the child all by herself.
She's a real black woman.
When she couldn't do it by herself. Nobody can do this by themselves. So what makes you think that you can rear a child by yourself when you couldn't create a child by yourself?
Even if you got millions of dollars, it's hard to raise a child by themselves.
It's impossible because a father brings a different parenting perspective than the mother. And the mother brings a different perspective parenting to the table than a father. So it's this thing where I'm hostile and I'm angry at this mate that helped me bring a child into this world, and I'm going to do whatever I can to do it by myself when it's not beneficial to the child. Stop thinking about yourself for a moment and say, hey, my son needs his dad, regardless of we're together or not no longer. He needs his dad. At some point in time, he needs to have him in his life.
I've heard it in black and white. Well, he can't pay, so he can't be around his kid.
Even when he pays,
you can't be around his kid.
Yeah, because the courts to see to that you take care of your child. But it's just unfortunate that until this stops, you look into the paper and you see all of these young black men in gangs and getting killed by the police because the insane supposedly issue is this, that they want to blame the police or the law enforcement as far as these kids out of control. That's not their problem. That's not their job.
No.
But the solution is supposed to be bringing more policemen to the street. That's the last thing that the black community needs is more police officers. Take that money, and let me just finish it. Take that money that you're going to pay more police officers to be out on the street, and take that same money, put it in those communities that they're policing and harassing people to create jobs to keep these young people busy and productive. That's the solution. Not putting more cops on the street to be having them pulling over and getting into a confrontation and become deadly.
There are more dead neighborhoods, black and white neighborhoods, than there was in the 50s and the 60s.
Yeah.
It amazes me, these dead neighborhoods there. There are places where people just go eat and sleep.
Yeah.
There's no place to go. And if they do have a basketball little court, the bullies take that over the same way they did when I was a kid. The gangs take it over.
The playgrounds.
The playgrounds and all that. And another thing, this gangbanger thing is a masculinity thing.
Oh, yeah, it's always
you a punk, I'm not, I'm a real man because I got a gun, whatever, shoot missiles or whatever, I can whoop your ass, you a punk, blah, 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 blah. Violence, for some reason, have become more masculine than it was back in during the Caesar's days. You understand what I'm saying? And young boys, you know, if you're not tough, you're not a man.
No.
You know,
It's rough being a young black man in this day and era.
I think it's rough being in any race.
Yeah, but you got to fear the police, then you got to fear your colleagues. You know, either one of them could take you at any given moment.
Like I tell somebody, I said, what saved me was going to our institute. An older guy when I was 14 years old said, "Man, this is what you need," and handed me a gun. And I said, "Oh."
Yeah, you don't want to go that route.
And I was going to go, Robert.
Yeah,
I was going to go that route.
Yeah, nothing good comes out of that route.
I was going to go
Nothing
that route. And 2 days later, a teacher told me I had a scholarship to go to our institute in Chicago. You know, and that got me out of the neighborhood around different kind of people and stuff. I'm from 47, 45th Street.
Put you in a different culture.
It put me in a different culture.
And that's what our kids today need now, because it's more teenagers now than it was when you and I were growing up.
Yeah.
So that means that there's a bigger need for more jobs when actually the jobs are shrinking, because I used to hear this from my father all the time. I could quit this job, go across the street, get another job.
You could.
And when I was a teenager, I could do the same. I could work for the city program. I could deliver papers. I could rent leaves. I could shovel snow.
Yeah.
There was jobs available for me if I wanted to do it, which I wanted to do.
You got it.
Now, you know, city program gone. All these other programs are gone. Kids that used to deliver papers, and now that job is taken over by adults with station wagons.
Yeah, or either the computer.
Yeah,
online.
I mean, the paperboy job has been taken away. You know, now adults are taking these jobs. So it's like, what do you expect all these kids to do? Because now I've heard, from newspapers that I remember when downtown Chicago was mainly working class people. Maybe on the weekends, people bring their family down to shop. Now you got these young unemployed guys and girls going downtown, robbing these business people in the business district, which was unheard of 15 years ago.
You got it.
There was areas where you can go and be assured that you're not going to see no young thug walking down the street getting ready to rob you, or running to the store and snatch and grab stuff.
Or taking your stuff on the L train in a poor neighborhood.
Yeah.
Who sticks up at the L train on 47th Street or where you know everybody is poor?
Yep. But let us wrap this up, because we can do a whole hour on this show. But we want to just touch on the problems that we're having in the black community and what's the root issue. And the root issue is all these people having kids that they're not in love with the person that they had these kids with, and not building a relationship or marriage with these people to raise their kids. Mm-hmm. So until we get back on track with that, it's just going to become worse. Okay. So on that note, I'm going to sign off. And as always, I thank you guys for coming to my channel. I'm Morris Man and my co-host
Joseph Spencer.
Take care.